everyone, and welcome to the New York Historical Society. I'm Louise Mirrer, New York Historical's president and CEO, and it is a great thrill to see so many of you here this evening in our beautiful Robert H. Smith Auditorium. We are thrilled to welcome David M. Rubenstein back to the New York Historical Society as moderator for this evening's program. Mr. Rubenstein coined the phrase patriotic philanthropist, and indeed, he has very generously supported many of our nation's most significant institutions, including the National Zoo, the Seawall Belmont House, and the Smithsonian's new National Museum of African American History and Culture. I am thrilled and honored to introduce Mr. Rubenstein's interviewee this evening, Billie Jean King. Ms. King is the founder of the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative and the co-founder of World Team Tennis. During her exceptional career, she won 39 Grand Slam singles, doubles, and mixed doubles tennis titles, including a record 20 titles at Wimbledon. She defeated Bobby Riggs in one of the greatest moments of sports history, the Battle of the Sexes in 1973, among countless other athletic achievements. And now please join me in welcoming David Rubenstein and Billie Jean King.
Well, we should probably start with the same question I asked Oprah. Have you ever considered running for president of the United States?
Actually, if I were younger again, yes, I would.
Well, you're
Why
younger.
not?
You're
No,
younger.
I'm too old now.
Well, how old do you think?
I'm 73. I think I'm too old. By the time I would run and feel like I knew enough to run, because it always looks easier from the outside.
Okay, so we'll take you out of this campaign.
Yeah, but yeah, you can.
Okay.
But if I were younger, in the 70s, when I was asked to get into politics, it was because of my sexuality. I knew that I could not run. Because if I had said, at that time I wasn't sure what I was, so I was trying to figure out who I am. If I'm going to run, I want to tell the truth, right? You got to tell the truth. I had no chance. So I had no.
Really?
I had no chance. So I knew I couldn't win, and so I don't want to get in a game that I can't win.
You're worried about politicians not telling the truth? Is that what
Well, in the 70s for sure. Now I'm not so sure. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. All right.
I still have to live with myself first. When you put your head down on the pillow at night. That's big.
Let's talk about the beginning of your career as a tennis player. So most tennis players, when you were beginning, probably like late 50s, early 60s, came from upper income families, not always, but you came from a blue-collar family. So how did your blue-collar family afford the lessons, and where did you get the inspiration to become a tennis player as opposed to some other sport?
Are you left-handed?
I'm not.
Why? I thought I hit a left-handed backhand there. In 5th grade, I went to Los Cerritos Public School, and Los Cerritos is situated in a very high economic group. I mean, everybody went there except on the other side of the tracks where Randy and I, my younger brother, and I grew up Wrigley Heights. Susan Williams was one of those people that belonged to the Virginia Country Club there, it's still there. It's a beautiful club in Long Beach. And she said, she's sitting next to me in 5th grade, and she says, "You want to play tennis?" And I said, "What's tennis?" And she says, "You don't know what tennis is?" I said, "No, what do you do?" She says, "You get to run, jump, and hit a ball." And I said, "Oh, those are my 3 most favorite things. I want to try it." So I went out and we hit. But I thought, well, if it's only played at country clubs, I'm not going to be able to play full time. But then we also were on a softball team at Houghton Park, and Susan told the coach, Val Halloran, I took Billie out to play tennis. And Val Halloran says, "Well, they give free instruction here every Tuesday." So now we're talking. I heard the magical word free, and I knew I'd have access, and that changed my whole life.
So your father was a fireman?
Firefighter, yes.
And your mother was a homemaker initially, and then later did some sales work. So when you became a tennis player, did they have time to take you to the tournaments? How did they make time for that?
Well, they and other Susan Williams' parents, Jerry Cromwell, who I was very tight with. In fact, I just talked to him, reconnected. His parents would help, so they would help each other to make it happen, and they would drop us off sometimes. Like at the Los Angeles Tennis Club, if we're going to be there for 8-10 hours, drop us off, go back, work, somebody else to come and get us. So everybody worked it out.
So some people are natural athletes. I was not. a natural athlete.
Most men never say that. What are you talking about?
I was the least
You're
natural
probably
athlete.
pretty good. See, he's very humble.
I was too Jewish to be a really good athlete.
Why do Jewish guys, that's the one thing Jewish guys say to me. My partner, Ilana Kloss, is Jewish, by the way. So she was number one in the world in doubles and top 20 in singles. And we were talking behind stage about how the Jews don't do too well in tennis. But Dick Savitt, a New Yorker, he was number one. He was on the front of Time magazine back in 1950, I think, around.
Recently, I was at a roast of somebody, and one of the people speaking was Tony Kornheiser.
Mm-hmm. I know Tony.
And in being introduced, he said that he was in the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. So somebody got up and said, well, what does that mean? 200 agents, 200 lawyers, and Sandy Koufax? So...
I love it.
Anyway.
Tony would say that.
So, go back to situation. You were not a natural athlete, would you say, or you were a natural athlete?
My brother and my younger brother, who played 12 years in the major leagues of baseball, we were very fortunate to be born very well coordinated.
Okay.
My dad was good at basketball. My mother was great at swimming. They loved to dance. My parents loved to dance. That's why I grew up with the big band sound.
But you had not perfect eyesight, right? You had to wear glasses playing tennis.
With glasses, I'm 20/10. I'm actually better than normal.
Okay.
My brother's 20/10 without glasses.
So when you were beginning to play as a teenager, when did you realize that actually you weren't just good as a local person in your neighborhood? You might be really one of the best in Southern California, one of the best in California, maybe one of the best in the country. When did you come to that realization?
Well, I think what really matters is the first time I went to the Houghton Park with Clyde Walker at the public park. At the end of that, which was the second time I picked up a racket. Susan was the first time. Clyde was the second time at the park, finally getting some free instruction. At the end of that, I knew I wanted to be number one player in the world.
Okay.
So my poor mother, who's coming to pick me up, I get in the car, and I'm bouncing on the seat, which I'm not supposed to do, and she says, calm down. I said, Mommy, I know what I'm going to do with my life now. And she's going, yes, what is that? And I said, I'm going to be the number one player in the world, tennis player. And she's going, that's fine, but you have homework and piano and, the usual. My mom was great at keeping us very grounded, which I now really appreciate.
So when did you finally play outside of California? When did you actually get a trip?
Well, Southern California, first you play in Southern California, and that was tough. I was number 2 in Long Beach behind Susan. So that's how I got started. And the first summer I played, which was a year later, to get a ranking, I won one match. I won the first match I played, and the rest of the summer I did not win one match. And that got me more fired up. Every time I'd lose, I got more fire in the belly. This is ridiculous. But Clyde was really good with me. He said, Billie, you're a better athlete. You just don't have the experience these kids have. They've had more lessons and all that than you'll ever have had at this stage. Most of these kids had already played 5 years or something. He said, you just stay in the process to be number one. And I didn't care about junior tennis that much. And if you listen to Pete Sampras, and you hear him talk, because people will ask him, neither one of us were number one in the juniors, and everything he thought about was being number one in the world of men's tennis. And you want to keep developing your game, and one of the hardest things to teach young people today is they care too much about the ranking and their points, and they're always chasing points to get a ranking, but rankings help them sometimes get money from the USTA to help them or whatever, the national governing body. But I keep trying to explain to them that you have to keep developing your game. Sometimes I would lose, but I was trying to do the right thing. So it wasn't a mental error, it was an execution error because I hadn't gotten good enough yet.
But when you got good enough to play outside of California,
Yes.
were you able to win tournaments in the East Coast? Or?
Well, the first place we went was Middletown, Ohio, in the 15 and under nationals. And you have to have a chaperone. And we couldn't afford to go on the airplane, so we took the train. And
The train from California to
LA to Middletown.
How many weeks did that take?
It took 3.5 days. I loved every second. My grandfather worked on the railroad, Northern Pacific. My dad's from Montana, and I loved the clickety-clack, and it just kind of put me to sleep. I love that motion. I just went to sleep. We couldn't afford a berth, so we're in the Pullman chair, just pulling back. My mother was sick the whole time.
So
She had motion sickness. So does anybody know what See's Candy is? Well, she had the top of a box of See's Candy underneath her, like this. the whole way, and I felt so sorry for
But
her.
when you got there, you couldn't have been in great shape because you're.
It wasn't great, but we had time. We had a day or so, and I didn't do well. I lost in the quarters. I never played on hard true, and I lost to Carol Hanks from St. Louis. We got killed, but I never won a junior. I didn't win the junior nationals, even on grass in Philadelphia, which is the next 3 years.
Right.
I was runner-up twice. Or
First
finals.
major tournament that you really did well in, national tournament, which one was that? Was that in
Well, the most
Forest
fun
Hill?
one, the most exciting one was when Karen Hance and I won doubles in 1961 at Wimbledon, because I love team sports better than individual. So mixed and doubles mean probably more to me than the singles title.
So your first Grand Slam of the 39 was
with
Nick-
Karen.
Was Karen doubles in Wimbledon.
Right, Wimbledon,
So-
1961.
So how did you go over? Did you? I guess you didn't take.
No, we had to take a plane by then.
So by the way, when you're playing doubles, you've won
Love it.
mixed doubles, and of the
And
39 titles, many of them were in mixed doubles and doubles, right?
Absolutely.
And so
I didn't care if I won all the majors. I cared more about the tour. In fact, I only made the Australian and the French a one-time goal. Just win them once, get them out of the way. Because I had so much to do off the court. I don't think people realize how hard we were working off the court, having meetings, trying to change things. How did we get equal prize money in 1973 at the U.S. Open? You know, that took a lot of work. Those things were happening behind the scenes in a very diplomatic way most of the time.
let's talk about money, for example. The many tournaments that you played early on, Wimbledon and U.S. Open and Forest Hills, all you got was a trophy. There was no money in
Correct.
those days.
Yeah. So we
So-
didn't get the trophy either. We got to breathe on it and give it back.
So when you won Wimbledon, the first time you won Wimbledon, 1961 doubles, did you actually get any money? You get no money.
We had expense money, $14 a day we lived on.
So how did people like you afford to go to Wimbledon to play these tournaments?
People in Long Beach made my life. Harold Guyver in Long Beach, who was a lefty, good player, but was #1 in the world in bridge for a while. He really believed in me. He saw me lose to Maria Bueno when I was either 15 or 16 at the Pacific Southwest at the Los Angeles Tennis Club. He said, I want to send you to Wimbledon next year. And I said, no, I'm not good enough. So I waited an extra year. You'd never hear a kid say that today. If someone offered, to go, yeah, I'll take it. I'm like, no. I haven't earned it yet. So and then the Long Beach Tennis Patrons, which had just gotten started, Long Beach Century Club, lawyers and doctors in Long Beach would give me $50 each. And they are the reason people in Long Beach, Clyde Walker through the Park and Rec, having access to Park and Rec, having these people who believed enough in me.
They would sponsor you, in other words.
They did sponsor me, absolutely. And they didn't ask for it back. A lot of times today, they'll get sponsors, but they have to give it.
So when you play doubles, I'm just curious, in doubles, when I play doubles, my annual game of doubles.
You just say yours, and you're golden.
One game a year I play doubles. But when a man, and when you have mixed doubles, is it considered appropriate or inappropriate for a man, if he has the ability to slam the ball and it's a woman, do you not do that? That's not
Oh, no, you
considered-
do that.
That's considered okay?
If the woman's considered weaker, you go at her on every ball.
Really?
Absolutely. That's why I liked it.
Okay.
You know why? If you're in it. It's really
Right.
good. Mixed doubles, I know I'm going to get the ball.
So in doubles, when you're talking to a partner, let's say, you see
Owen
players,
Davidson's who I played best with. He's an Aussie lefty from
we won a lot of doubles tournaments.
Australia.
So when you talking to a partner, you always see the players talking on the court. What are they actually saying? They don't say you're screwing up, or they're saying, what are they really saying?
Well, they talk a lot more today. If you look at our matches, we played so much faster than they do today. Today they have to have a press conference between each ball.
Right.
I mean, it's like I'm looking at them like, really?
Right.
Because first of all, it's all math, okay? In tennis, and if you're, say, a goalie in hockey, which I know nothing about, but I watched one night, I go, I'm just going to watch the goalie. We're always bisecting the angle, okay? And if you play doubles, it's just, to me, it's so obvious. You take space where they've left and all that. It's like playing basketball, it's all math. So understand the math, play the percentages, but you look at each other. For instance, whose volley is best up in the middle? Like if you're going to clash, if the ball goes up the middle, who's going to take it usually? If you both can get to it, that should be decided. Like most people are taught, it's the forehand. Karen and I, when we played, it was the backhand because our backhand volleys were so superior to our forehand volleys. So you just have to use. you want to use your strengths, and that's another thing. Everyone should be working on their
How
strengths.
does it work when, let's suppose, somebody calls you and says, well, I'd like you to be my doubles partner at Wimbledon, and you really don't want to be their doubles partner because you don't think they're that good? How do you gracefully say, well,
Well, in the old days, we didn't do that. Whoever asked first got that's
Really?
Yep. In the old days, that's why today that wouldn't happen. I would choose who I thought I could win with. I played 2 years with Ben Testerman, who I adore. I'm still friends with him. I was helping him as a junior player, and I said, let's play mixed because I knew it would help him. We're not going to win. We got to the quarters one year, which is a miracle. I didn't, it was amazing.
Now, many adults play more doubles than they play singles.
Yes.
Why is it that television ratings are such that doubles don't get shown very much on TV, and why do people seem to want to watch singles more than doubles?
Well, I like doubles more than singles. So I think it's because it's the exposure and the interest, and then some people like that mono thing, mono and mono. And they've promoted it that way. It's been promoted a certain way. I personally would change it. I, in fact, in the 70s said, why don't we give 80% of the prize money to doubles and 20% to singles, and we'll see what happens over the next 10
Well,
years.
you get more people playing
And
doubles,
everybody looked
right?
at me and said, no way. And I said, I think you're wrong.
Now, when a tennis player is bouncing the ball,
Yes.
what's the theory behind bouncing it 4, 5, 6 times?
Well, you're
before you
going through
serve?
your rituals. The women in the locker room used to watch Jimmy Connors and have this bet how many bounces he was going to do.
Yeah.
We had fun with that. We had a great time.
But does the ball get stronger when you bounce it more or
no,
something? Or is that...
What he's doing is you're going through your rituals. For instance, if I'm going to serve, I usually bounce twice. I told you the younger ones bounce more.
So
They take up more time.
now, when you were playing, wooden rackets were all that existed.
Yes.
The early part.
Yeah, mostly ash. It was made out of ash.
So today the rackets are so much stronger, right?
Oh, they're so easy. You should hear Martina Navratilova because she's still playing senior events. She walks in, she goes, these rackets are so easy. You can miss hit, they go in. You can do anything. You can slice, you can top spin. She's left-handed, that's why I'm using my left hand. Anyway, she said, this is a joke compared to wooden rackets.
Right.
She said, it's so much easier. I said, but that's fun, particularly for non-professionals, for recreational players. Why don't we make it? I want to make it fun for the critical mass of people.
So somebody who's playing with a wooden racket against somebody who's playing with a metal racket can't possibly win, right?
Oh, no way anymore. No.
Because when Bjorn Borg came back, he was playing with a wooden racket and didn't do too well when he came to his comeback.
You can't cope. No.
So let's go back to your career for a moment. So in your career, when did you win a Wimbledon singles the first time?
1966 against Maria Bueno at Wimbledon.
And then U.S. Open first time singles? That was around that time? Well, not
I think
quiz.
it's 1967 against
Okay.
Dan Jones. And I used a T2000, which was a big deal. Clark Graebner and I are the first two players that used the T2000
Right.
in 1967. Everybody thought Jimmy Connors, he was after. Thank you.
Right.
But I give Jimmy a bad time. We're tight with Jimmy. Alana and I love Jimmy, so I can say anything I want. But
when did it start that you were actually getting paid? I mean, was it
1968? When you hear the word open tennis or the modern era, that's what they mean. It was from 1968 when we got our first check. Like when Rod Laver won Wimbledon in 1968, he won 2,000 pounds, and when I won it, the women's singles, I got 750 pounds. And then I went, oh no, here's another challenge.
Right. So
And I'm like, I didn't dawn on me that I was
women
going to get
didn't
less.
get equal pay.
What?
Women weren't getting equal pay.
Absolutely not.
So at what point did you try to make people realize maybe they should get the same pay or prize money?
Well, it's probably that moment I got that 750. I did. I remember getting that. I'm going, aren't the same amount of people in the stadium watching us?
Well, now there's
Also, I want to fight for equality. See, what people don't realize, in some ways we probably don't, we still don't make the money the men do because the tour makes more. But the majors, it took us from 1968 to 2007. We finally got equal prize money in the majors. That was a long haul. Behind the scenes, we had help. I mean, Larry Scott was huge. He was our executive director with the Women's Tennis Association. We had all kinds of people. We got Venus being the front person, so the world would see a current player. We got her.
But when you were coming up, the women had tournaments, but there was no tour. Is that right? There was no women's tour.
No, well, it's so confusing. There was a contract pro tour, which they called it the Jack Kramer Tour. Somebody else owned it before that, and that's what Bobby Riggs played after he was finished to make a living. People like Jack Kramer. What would happen is the men players would win Wimbledon and then turn pro to make a living, because a lot of them are married, have children, and they were on the road 11 months a year, putting down a court, barnstorming every night. Actually, there's a great thing on Tennis Channel called, they didn't get everything right, but it's still good to see it.
But the equivalent of that, there didn't exist for women at the time.
No, of course not. They had one match, Kramer, but what they did is they always went for looks. Like they had Gussie Moran play Pauline Betts, so that's irritating. Right. They didn't. We want to compete. We want to be known for our accomplishments, not just our looks. And so right. it's so irritating. People have no idea how irritating this is.
But you started the women's tour, really, didn't you? There's
9 of us that. I am the founder of the WTA, the association or the union. We're not a union because we're individual contractors.
But some women didn't want to join, is that right?
Correct.
Why were they afraid?
Because of their associations, get in trouble, but they'd already gotten in trouble sometime. I mean, we had 9 of us in 1970 signed a $1 contract. That is the birth of women's professional tennis.
So you were, I'd say, number 2 in the world at a point when, or were you number 1, when Bobby Riggs said, I'm going to play a woman, and he played Margaret Court first.
In May of 1973, right, Mother's Day.
And he beat her.
Yes.
So you had avoided playing him before that.
Yes, he'd been following me around. He'd show up every so often. Hey, Billy. We're both from Southern California. He's one of my heroes. I knew all about him. He didn't know that, but I did.
But he had been a Wimbledon champion himself.
Oh, yeah, he won the Triple Crown in 1939, mixed with Alice Marble, who was one of my mentors, yes.
So after Margaret Court lost to Bobby Riggs.
Then I had to play.
All right, so it was 1973.
Correct.
And you played it in the Astrodome. Mm-hmm. And you were paid, the winner was going to get paid.
The winner got paid $100,000.
So were you nervous that you might lose?
Oh, sure.
So did you practice a lot?
Remember, we still had the Virginia Slims tour was going on that Gladys had started in 1970. I was working, we were playing tournaments, and I was getting ready for that.
So when you played against...
I actually played a tournament. Most people don't realize, but the week I played Bobby Riggs with all the media, with all the stuff, I also played the Virginia Slims of Houston that week. People don't even know that. I guarantee you not one of you knew that in here. So I was a little busy.
Right, so were you surprised at how much attention that...
No, because here's what happens. When 95% of the media is controlled by men, we have to go back, first of all, and set the scene. 1973, let's face it, Watergate was heating up. Vietnam was finally, I don't think it's ever come to an end, really, with the veterans and everything. I feel really terrible for them, the way they were treated. And then also, we had Title IX was passed in June 23rd, 1972.
Right.
You can clap, that's great.
Right.
And then we had our first portable telephone in 1973. It weighed 2.5 pounds. And you could use it for 30 minutes, and it took 10 hours to charge that. Right. So can you imagine with the millennials today? Oh, they would not be happy.
So you had this big match, 1973.
It's about social change.
Now, he was carried in by some women?
He was on a rickshaw, and I was carried in.
Were carried in, okay.
By the beefcake guys.
So it was the best of how many sets?
He wanted to play 3 out of 5. I said, I don't care. Let's play whatever.
So you played
3 out of 5, which I'd never done.
All right. So the first set, who won that?
I won that, but I was down 4-2. And that was the moment of truth.
And when did you realize he really wasn't in shape?
No, he was in shape. He was just so nervous.
But so he didn't did he run to the
Well, that was what they said, but I had spies out too. That's the perception. But he was partying a little more. I know his son was unhappy with him, but he was hitting.
But he would come to the net and you could easily pass him?
No, it wasn't easy. Nothing's easy.
Nothing's easy. It was
absolutely
you had
not.
a hard time passing him.
No, you have to understand the occasion. I knew I only had it was the only moment I was going to get to help change, to have social change, but to also, we're only in our 3rd year of women's professional tennis, so our tour was very young, it was a very tenuous position, so I didn't want Title IX to be weakened. I also wanted the world where men and women look like one team, that we're all in this together. So my job was to bring us together And we had a lot of parties that night, a lot of betting. So the men and women were hanging out.
He was betting during the middle of the match. Is that
Yeah,
right?
well, not the middle, at the beginning, the first game, and then he stopped.
So at what point during that match did you say, I can beat this guy, he's really not that good?
What you learn as an athlete,
Okay,
until you're shaking hands in the net, it's not over.
okay.
And
So-
never, ever underestimate your opponent. My dad was so fanatical about two things. Never underestimate your opponent and always respect them, even if you don't like
Did
them.
your parents come to that match?
Yes, I had to beg them to come, but they did. But my parents didn't go to much. They went to one Wimbledon, never been to the U.S. Open, never been to the French, never. No, they didn't. They liked to stay home, and they went to a few of Randy's baseball games. Don't forget, Randy's playing Major League Baseball right now.
So
And the night before I played Bobby, Randy claims that I called him and told him to bet the house on the match. I was going to win.
did he
And
do
then
it?
he had a day off the next day, which is weird. On baseball, they play so many games. He was someplace in a hotel room, he can't even remember, having chicken wings and just finger licking good, counting his money. You know, and then Rosie Casals, who was the one of the announcers that night with Howard Cosell and Gene Scott, she claims she came in to see me in the locker room. Now remember, my brother used to change in this locker room because he was a visitor, right? He was with the Giants. They come to play the Astros, and he would be
Right.
in this locker room. So I felt very connected to him that night. So Rosie came in 20 minutes before, and she said, "Are you going to win or lose? What do you feel? How are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm going to win." I do not remember that at all. So I was definitely in the zone by then.
So now a movie is being made about this, and Emma
Stone's
Tony's going to play you, is that right?
And then Steve Carell's going to play Bobby. And then Alan Cumming is going to play Ted Tenling, who made our dresses.
Okay.
And Sarah Silverman, who is funny, is going to be Gladys Hellman. It's perfect. So it's not just about the match, it's about sexuality, too.
Now the movie has been shot already.
I think, yes, it's locked.
So how did they get her to play tennis? I mean, they had a
I
double?
helped Emma. I've gotten getting to know her as a human being. She's an unbelievably great person, really unbelievable. So that makes me really happy because you know you can admire people and then you meet them and you go, oh.
So what did you do that particular night? It's probably that you say that about me, but so
I'll tell you later.
right later. So
I haven't made up my mind yet. No,
that night, what did you do to celebrate that night?
I'm sure I ate ice cream.
Okay. So in playing tennis, you had a lot of injuries. You have a lot of knee operations.
But I didn't have injuries during the match. I didn't.
Not during the match, but-
Not during matches, but I had a lot of operations. Yes.
So after you were operating your knees and so forth, you have a lot of scars from that. Did you have the desire to come back every time, or you never said, "Hey, I had enough of this"?
No, I love it. I love hitting the ball. You know, it's about the feeling when you play. It's the hitting the ball. It's trying to look for the perfect shot. You know you're always it always eludes you. You know that, but it doesn't matter. You strive for it. And I just love to play, and I love to have to use all of myself. I like the mind, body, and soul. You know, in sports, the great thing about it, it's so the physical, the emotional, the mental. It's just like, I just love that, it's just all of myself. And I love to hit the ball. There's just a great feeling when you hit the ball. It's just beautiful. And then it's just like dance. Like I love watching dance, modern or ballet or anything. It's how you shape time and space. That's what we're doing too when we play tennis. It's like dancing, and my parents loved to dance, so I'm sure that helped a lot. And you know, I don't know, there's something about just hitting the ball. I can be on a court, nobody's around, and just hit it. It's just, I just love the feeling.
Now, explain this to me. Men, Jimmy Connors and John McEnroe, were famous for yelling against the refs and screaming and so forth. How come women didn't do that so much?
I did.
Really?
Yeah,
You weren't as famous for it. You just didn't get as much attention
Well,
for it?
I'm also the generation before when we didn't have as many microphones on the court like they did. Like John saying, what is it? You can't be serious? Do you know how many times we've all said that? It's like, we didn't have the microphone. If we'd had the microphone, ooh.
Is tennis better off now having these cameras, and so you have the ability to challenge something? Is tennis much better now?
Yes,
And
that's great.
if the players that you played against, who was the toughest opponent for you?
Yourself is always the toughest, no matter how you cut it.
Okay,
Don't you
but
think?
other than yourself.
I think just the normal, you know, like Margaret Court, Chris Everett, Martina, the number ones.
Okay, and so you played against Chrissy when she was coming up.
Yeah, she's great. We're still tight. We're all, we're good.
And today, if you had to pay to watch a tennis player, you had to actually pay to watch a tennis. You haven't probably paid to watch a tennis player in a long time, right?
Oh, I pay sometimes, yes.
Okay, all right.
I hate, people are always asking for free tickets, really? You're not going to have a sport if you keep getting free.
So I shouldn't call you for tickets, I guess.
No,
Right?
you can call me.
Okay.
Well, you get a pass.
All right, okay. So if
'Cause
you
we
had to
did this
pay to
together.
watch one player that's been around.
One?
Just one. If you had to pay to watch one player, you can only watch one player, who would you pay to watch?
Oh, God, there's so many I love. I've seen so many.
Or you can have two. I mean, who do you enjoy watching
Well,
the
I
most?
can tell you who I used to love to watch to play when I was actually still playing a little was Jimmy Connors. Just gives it up. He gets the crowd. He and John probably be the other one, but Jimmy he just loves to be the showman. He just loves it, and he just gets so intense, and he brings the crowd in. And then I think Chris and Martina's rivalry, those two being, have a contrast of styles. They have one of the greatest rivalries in sports, Chris Evert and Martina Navratilova. And if they had been men with that rivalry, we would never hear the end of it.
But pure tennis genius or talent, who would you say during the last 50 years was leaving yourself aside as a female?
I wouldn't put myself
The greatest female tennis player, and who would you say is the
the
greatest?
greatest woman.
Yes, who would you say is the greatest women's tennis player? Pure talent.
You'd have to go with Serena right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about male? The greatest one you've seen in 50 years, who would you say is the most
God.
talented? Rod Laver,
Probably.
Federer?
Well, it's Rod Laver, and then I would put Sampras and Federer.
Okay.
Those three, but they all, every generation passes the baton to the next one, and every generation gets better.
Right.
So it's hard. It's different when here's Rod playing with a wooden racket. I mean, the reason Borg hit such severe topspin is because his hero was Rod Laver. He just exaggerated what Rod did. So that's why each generation pushes the next generation.
And today, everybody hits with enormous spin. When you first came up, there wasn't as much top spin.
If you tried to hit the ball the way they do it, you'd break your arm. I mean, first of all, the ball would bounce about there with the wooden racket. You'd be going, yow! It'd be going right about there. And you can't get the momentum of the racket face like you can now.
Now,
the dynamics.
when you're playing in a major tournament, let's say Wimbledon or U.S. Open, you're not supposed to be coached by your coach, who might be sitting in the stands. But they seem to be doing hand signals or something.
Oh,
What
they
are
do. They
what are they
coach.
really doing? I mean, how
Personally, I think-
useful can a hand signal be?
Personally, I think they should be allowed to because they do it already.
Well, what can they tell you other than
Easily.
work harder or something?
Lob. There's all kinds
Really?
of stuff they
Okay.
can do. Maybe where to serve, where to return. Oh my gosh, they can tell you to slow down. They can tell you to get more spin. They can do there's 1,000 things you can do. Like in baseball, how they.
Well, sometimes some players, but sometimes
why not?
Sometimes players.
I just want to make it honest and have integrity. You can't have integrity if you say one thing in the rule and do it the other way. So everyone's cheating if they're doing that. That's why I want to get rid of it. In team tennis, why I love it so much is we have coaching. It's legal. It's integrity.
Okay.
When a child comes to watch, I do not want a child to come and see where the rules say one thing and they do another. That is not good messaging. So I really think with the socialization is so important for young people.
I think there should be coaching.
If
Okay.
they're already doing
All right.
it.
Well, let's talk about World Team Tennis. You helped start that. What is World Team Tennis status today? You own
We're
one
going
of the
to be in, I own a majority of the league, but we're going into our 42nd season. And the reason I live in New York is because I played for the New York Apples at Madison Square Garden, and Tony Kornhauser was there every night riding. He was a little, 20 years old guy or whatever he was, doing his little story every night. And I got to see him at a Castles match, which is in D.C. Mark Ein, who you know, owns that. He's a great owner. I sat with Tony just last summer, and he and I were reminiscing. And he got really fascinated with team tennis because we have equality. We have the equal amount of men and women on each team, and we have the same contribution by both genders. And it's really important, I think, to have that equal contribution because equality, since I've been 12 years old, is what I've been fighting for. I had an epiphany when I was 12. I was 1 year in the game, and I was daydreaming at the Los Angeles Tennis Club. And I noticed that everybody who played had white shoes, white socks, white clothes, played with white balls then, and everybody who played was white. And I said, where's everybody else? And that was my moment where it changed my whole life. And I said, I'm going to fight for I'm going to fight for equal rights and opportunities for men and women the rest of my life. And I'm one of the luckiest kids in the world because why? I have tennis. And tennis, I'm sure I didn't use the word platform as a 12-year-old, but I understood already that it wasn't just national, that it was international. And I said, I have the most unbelievable opportunity if I can become number one in the world, which was already my hope when I was a year back with Clyde. So this is 1 year forward. So at 11, I want to be number one in the world. At 12, I had my epiphany. And that's what I've been fighting for my whole life. And world team tennis, if you watch a world team tennis match, you see the way I want the world to look.
Right?
I want men and women on the same team. I want us working, and I want equal pay for equal work. That's what the Billie Jean King leadership initiative is all about. It's men and women. It's not just women. I did the Women's Sports Foundation in 1974 because that was 2 years after Title IX. It was just after the King-Riggs match, and I was very worried that Title IX might be weakened, and I did not want that to happen. And I really thought that was important. And anytime you hear anything about girls in sports, research, we really work hard on research because most of the things you hear about us, like, okay, if you should get a girl into sports by the time she's 10 years old, she only has a 10% chance she'll probably exercise. I've gone. Lukey, baby,
mic.
where are you? Behind me. Can you hear me now anyway?
Yes.
Hey, what's it? I'm used to projecting. I put my coach's voice on.
So
Anyway.
today,
Just let me hold it then. Where is it, dear heart? Good now?
so
Thank you, Luke.
now when you
Is it Luke? Yeah.
today you do some announcing as well,
No, I don't do announcing anymore. I quit doing that.
and because it's
It takes time and effort. It's just time I'm wasting to get stuff done like the Leadership Initiative and working on team tennis or working with the Women's Sports Foundation.
when did you stop playing tennis competitively? How old were
I was
you
40.
when you stopped playing? And past that age, the body doesn't quite work so well,
That's true. It was very irritating.
right? So today, are you play tennis anymore today? Or
I'm not right now, but that's one of my it's a goal I'd like to, because Ilana plays twice a week and runs 4 or 5 times a week, which is really irritating. And she works 16-hour days. I don't know how she does it.
Well, okay,
She's really good at discipline. I'm much more, I can't, like, she can get up in the morning and just go. And I'm like, how can you do that?
well,
I want to read.
so maybe
and
now, if I
wanna
get to play
think.
you, if I could play you now, I could maybe.
Oh, you kill me. Yeah.
Well,
you would win
kill
easily.
wouldn't be the word, but
But you said you play only once.
once a year.
Oh, well, maybe we would be close.
But
But you still have your wheels, you said.
right. So I have nothing artificial, but most of my friends who are good athletes are younger. They have artificial knees and hips, so I can run them off the court when I play my annual
Right,
game.
yeah.
But let me ask you today, where are the great Jewish tennis players? How come there aren't more Jewish tennis
Well,
players?
we have 7 sinners in Israel. And I keep thinking, out of those 7, we should be able to get a world champion out of
Oh, maybe.
because they have such heart, and they've had to deal with a lot.
Chosen people too. So.
Sure. No, well, Golda, did you read Golda Meir's autobiography? What's the first sentence? You remember what it is? Here's what I always remember. I don't know if I'm right, so don't quote me. God didn't choose us, we chose God.
Okay.
That's what she says. I think that's her first sentence or 2 of the whole book. And then when I found out she's from Milwaukee, I'm like, what? What's going on here?
Nice Jewish girl from Milwaukee. Golda
so.
Meirson, that was her name. Changed her name, shortened it.
I thought she was one of my sheroes, that's for sure.
So, of all the famous people you have met over the years, who has been most impressive to you in terms of their leadership capability? Who do you admire as somebody that's a great leader that you think?
Oh my God, that's a great question. I don't know.
So
many.
In the sports world.
Sports, I don't think sport. You see, everyone thinks I think sports all the time.
I think outside of it. I mean, you have been involved in politics, supporting candidates.
I supported Hillary and President Obama. I think they're both unbelievable. I thought in my lifetime, this is probably one of my biggest disappointments, is that I probably will not see a woman president now in my lifetime, and it's really, it's, who? Oprah's good, because she's still young enough. That'd be great. And she has the following. Everybody knows her name, which is huge. You're ahead of the game right there. You're huge. Wait a minute, huge. What?
So when now when so the legacy that you would like to leave to the world, not that you're ready to leave a legacy, but would it be that you were the greatest tennis player in the world for
Oh,
quite
no,
a
I
while?
don't care about that.
Or was it somebody you
No,
fought
I
for
didn't.
equal rights?
Equal rights is much more important. And I'm not finished yet, so I don't know yet. And I'm working on a book also, so it's like,
And-
that is exhausting, can I just say. And I have help. I don't know how people actually do it.
Now, there used to be an equal rights amendment that was proposed to the Constitution. It failed from, I think, 2 or 3
I
states.
think it's two, but what did you think about that?
Well, I thought in the
I
time it
never
would have
could-
been a good idea, but it didn't. I worked in the White House when Jimmy Carter was president. He was unable to get any states to ratify it at that time. He was heavily criticized for his inability to do that. And
Do you think he should have been able to do it? In all fairness?
he tried, but it was difficult because there weren't that many states left that were potential candidates. But today, do you think the Equal Rights Amendment is necessary today or would be useful?
What do you guys think? I don't know. Then we should.
All right.
I don't know. Whatever is going to help equality and women be uplifted. Every time we're not paid equally, I think we're at 80 cents now. That the newest thing that came out today, was it? And I think that means collectively. We know women of color don't do as well. There's no question. And I came here really with a heavy heart tonight in some ways, because I just went this morning at 11 o'clock and saw I Am Not Your Negro. Have you guys seen any of that yet? I don't know. It's really affected me. I was crying. I was like, I remember reading James Baldwin as a younger woman, and I really got it today. I mean, I'm thinking I'm 73, I better. We have got to figure this out. But every generation goes through this. I don't know. As a human being, I don't know how we treat each other the way we do. I've never understood it as a child even. I remember with the Little Rock Nine, or the Negroes going to school and they couldn't. And I remember asking my dad and mom, and go, what is the problem? And they said, well, they're Negroes. They used the word Negro on that day. That's what made me think the day when I heard, I'm not your Negro. And I said, well, what has that got to do with it? And my dad said, because of their color. And I just remember thinking, it never made any sense. And if you ask babies, if they haven't been totally programmed, I guarantee you they'll all say the same thing. It's just beside me how we treat each other.
So your parents lived to see your success, is that correct? And
They were big on my brother and me. When we come home, they were.
they
We
did-
walk in the door and they go, just because you're pro athletes, don't think your chore. You still have to do your chores and everything else. I mean, they would keep us like so basic. I mean, my parents. I am one of the luckiest people in the world. Randy and I both are because of our parents. I mean, most kids do not have the training or the understanding how they. My parents were working 3 jobs so Randy and I could live our dreams. They did not even care if we were the best. They didn't care about anything. They're the opposite of helicopter parents. And there's a lot of them in New York, by the way. Okay, and I've lived here since the 70s, and it just gets me crazy.
Now, your red glasses, are they in honor of your father's profession?
No, but it's a good idea. I like that.
So,
May I use that line?
sure.
from now on?
So let me
It's all
ask you.
David's fault.
So today, would you say that your main goal is to promote equal rights for all people,
For all.
right?
It's always going to be for all. That's who I am. Yeah.
Now, you were awarded the Medal of Freedom by President Obama.
What a day.
So what was that like when you got that?
Well, first of all, just being told by Valerie Jarrett called me to tell me. She said, the president wants to give you the, and I'm like, what? I didn't think I heard her right. I'm like, wow.
So that was one of the highlights of
Well,
your...
also, yes, because here's our first person of color president ever, and that's what am I fighting for? And they didn't talk about me being an athlete when he talked about it. He talked about fighting for equal rights is the reason I got it, and the LGBT community. That's what made me the happiest. And also, Harvey Milk
Right?
got it posthumously, but his nephew is there. And I don't think any president has ever said LGBT or anything like that. It was an amazing moment because it was the first year of President Obama's, election. His first year, 2009 was his first year of 8. So just sitting there with all these people who, John Lewis walked in, I go, oh my God, I love John Lewis. I'm like, oh, I get to get a Presidential Medal of Freedom with John Lewis. Oh my God, I was like beside myself. And then I happened to be the first woman athlete, which is pathetic. It's good news, bad news. I mean, it's always nice to be the first, but that's not what I care about. I care about it's not right, because all these male athletes get them because the presidents are guys and they love to give them, you know, their childhood hero that played baseball or football or basketball. I'm like, well, you don't choose women athletes the same way. Otherwise, they would. Where's Althea Gibson? Why didn't she have one? She was our Jackie Robinson of tennis. She doesn't have anything out at the U.S. Open. We got to have something for her. I keep trying to get it done. I'm not getting it done.
Well, at the Forest Hills, or not Forest Hills, the U.S. Open.
That's right, Forest Hills. Westside.
They've named the entire center after you.
Oh, you mean the new one? Yes, they did.
That's a big honor. Were you surprised that they did that?
Surprised? Yeah, you could have knocked me over with a feather, of course.
Okay.
Franklin Johnson, who was the president of the USTA at the time, called me. I was at a Philadelphia Freedom World Team tennis match, actually. Perfect. I'm outside with it. It was outside at Cabrini College. And it was so noisy because it was a tight match. It was just crazy. And I had to go in the president's house. I said, I can't hear you. Wait. I thought I heard him, but I'm thinking, that's not what he said. Just get over it fast. And and then Franklin repeated it when I got on the phone. And I said, seriously? Do you know how many fights I've had with the USTA? Seriously. No, this is amazing because this shows you what's possible. And so that night was a really incredible moment.
So how do you compare that moment with the Presidential Medal of Freedom with winning Wimbledon? Or hard to compare them all, I guess.
Probably the Presidential Medal of Freedom was probably, because, you know, I love the word freedom. I own the Philadelphia Freedoms. Elton John wrote Philadelphia Freedom for me.
Right.
And I love freedom since I was a child. Coretta King has a great...
And you were very close to Elton John.
Yeah, we are close. I just talked.
But today, you live in New York. When you go to a restaurant, do people come up on you and bother you for photographs or autographs, or they leave you alone?
That's one thing so great about New Yorkers. They'll acknowledge you, but they don't... They're pretty good. They don't... It's a tourist that will want more photos and want more of that. But New Yorkers, they'll look at you and go, you know, keep going.
Right.
You know, I mean... That's why John Lennon and Yoko lived here. They could be themselves, and that's why they liked it. New York's very good that way.
So when you're trying to just rest and recreation, relax, what do you do to get away from New York, or where do you go? What do you like?
I love being home. I'm on the road a lot. I love being home. I love being home. I love to read. I never get enough. I just could read. I love to read. I love, like when I talked to Louise Mirrer, the CEO and president here at the Historical Society, New York Historical Society. Just knowing that Robert Caro and David McCullough and Doris Kearns Goodwin and people like who I just love reading have done a lot of the research here. So, that to me is that connection is, just like going to the play Hamilton, but knowing I've read the book and oh my God, it's amazing. So.
What do you today? You're working on your book. When will it be coming out, do you think?
Well, it has to come out after the movie because the movie wouldn't allow a book to come out. It's you learn about all these. Okay, whatever. I think it's got to be at least a year, 18 months after the movie. So the movie, I don't know exactly when the movie's going to be this fall. It'll probably be around September, October, November, in that range in there.
So
Fox Searchlight.
So when you look back on your career, what have you enjoyed the most? Winning tennis tournaments, doing the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
I'm just happy hitting a tennis ball. I don't have to win titles. I did want to win Wimbledon. When you're young, you want to win a certain amount. But I wanted to be the greatest ever for sure. But then the quality thing just took over. And also starting the tour took over. It just did. I didn't get to practice properly. I don't think people realize how many meetings we had. We had meetings daily, and I was the leader. They chose me as the leader. Leaders don't choose followers. Followers choose leaders. And so all the women said, you're the one. So I finally said, okay, I'll embrace that.
When you play Wimbledon, by the way, I watched the grass courts, and it seems like at the end there's no grass left, just dirt, right? Is that harder to play?
You mean at the end of the tournament?
Yeah, at the end of the tournament.
Well, now it's just the opposite, the baseline shot. In our day, you'll see where we would serve, run in, and go, stop with both feet so you can go in any direction. Up back. It's right behind the service line. That's not there anymore. That's the way we played, serve and volley. Now it's the baseline. It's just shot.
And then does the Queen ever come when you were playing? Did she ever come, or did any of
She came the year Virginia Wade won in 1977. That was the Jubilee year. And I did get to meet her, though. She did come one, and I was...
You're told not to shake her hand, but just...
No, Elton told me everything, because we're staying with Elton, so we knew. I said, Elton, what do I do? And his grandmother used to always have tea with Mother Queen all the time. I don't know if you know that. And, it's an amazing
more
story.
than tea, probably.
Probably. Probably, but he's got a whole section of his home in England. He's got 6 homes, so this one. He's got 2 in London, so... areas of it. This is Woodside. He's got a place where they used to.
So if somebody came to you and said, I have a child who is really well coordinated.
That happens all the time.
Right, and I'm a great athlete, and I have a child who's very coordinated, and I want him or her to be a great tennis player. What advice would you give him or her to really grow up? Can you go to one of these tennis academies? Get the parent to stay away? What is it that makes
First of all, I would want to talk to the child. And the first question I ask every person, but particularly young people, is why do you play tennis? And you'd be surprised. Some of them go, boom, like that, fun, I love it. Others go, I'm not sure. I go, I said, it's not a test. So you've got all, think about it. But first know why you play. You got to know why you play. I think that's major. And if a child does, I can tell a lot of times they don't want to play. It's the parent who's just pushing and pushing. And of course, I grew up just the opposite. When I told you when I announced it, my parents were like, that's fine. But then when Randy was at the dining room table, and he was 10, and we're all sitting, because we always had dinner together when my dad was home every other day from the fire department. I'll never forget this. Randy goes, Mom and Dad, and I already knew this, but Mom and Dad, I want to be a Major League Baseball player. Both my parents went like this. And they said, not you too. And Randy and I are like, yes. I was so happy because Randy really wanted it, and he loved playing. He just loved playing sports. Randy had a great eye. He was really good at basketball too.
Now, you're friendly with Elton John, but he never did a song called Billie Jean. Michael Jackson. Was that named after you? Did he do that after you? You ever mention it to him? Or?
No, but I talked to Quincy Jones about it, who helped him write it, obviously.
Were you the inspiration, or you can take credit for it?
Well, they said they talked about, they wanted to make sure that people knew that if you hear the lyrics, that it wasn't about me. And so if you hear it's Billie Jean, Not My Love, that's what they decided to put in it, so people would know it wasn't about me. So it was like interesting. That's what he said. I don't know if he's being nice, probably, but I've sat with Quincy a couple of times. He's another amazing guy.
So let me ask you a final question. Of all the things that you've done, what have you enjoyed the most? Has it been playing tennis, being a leader for equality, this interview? What would you say has been the most enjoyable thing you've ever done?
The most important things for me?
Yes.
Relationships, by far.
And you have a relationship now?
What, with Ilana, you mean, or with life?
Yes.
I'm talking about every relationship.
Oh, every relationship.
Well,
okay.
She's the most important, for sure. But
it's overall relationships with other people.
Yes. Friendship, relationships, in the end, they're everything.
Wow.
Mom, Dad, and all that.
Thank you very much for a great conversation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Great.
Great. That was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.